You are watching Tech and AI Live. Now I am joined by Kirk Compton, Director of Business Development at SambaNova Systems, who is here to deliver his keynote presentation titled AI is Here. The time to accelerate your business with AI is now. Kirk is a business outcome executive working with C-suite leaders through empathetic workshops to align their organizational strategies. He is a market leader in client-focused solutions development, delivery, and management, driving enterprise growth by aligning corporate strategy ahead of market conditions and ever-changing technology solutions. Welcome, Kirk. It's great to have you here, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Catherine. Pleasure to be here and talk to you all day.
Brilliant, brilliant. So I'll hand over to you now for your presentation.
Great, appreciate that. Well, good day, everybody, and thanks for attending. We're going to take a few minutes here and just talk about AI, the impact it has and is having and is going to have in our industry and in our markets. And then we'll talk a little bit about SambaNova Systems, very young company, but really producing some game-changing technology that I think you're all going to be interested in. So as Catherine said, we're going to talk about, AI and why now is the time to accelerate your business. As many organizations have been looking at AI projects, there have been many attempts to try and get AI across the line. Many organizations have been talking about it. And I would make a big assumption here, everyone in the audience, that your organizations are having these conversations, trying to figure out what's next and trying to figure out where we can go with AI. And as you guys know, there's a massive shift in the industry, and it's already underway. Today, there's over 700 billion interactions that occur on a daily basis between people, machines, and devices. By 2025, every connected person will have a digital interaction every 18 seconds. These numbers are amazing to think about and to really understand those impacts. So that means with every 18 seconds, there'll be trillions of interactions in a day for the next 20 years. AI will be the facilitator for the computational power behind the massive volume of interactions. And in fact, 63% of CEOs believe AI will have more impact on the world than the internet, which is an amazing thing to think about and what we've all lived through these past decade or two. And there's an estimated 15 trillion in value that will be created by AI in the next decade. McKinsey estimates that AI will deliver as much as 15.7 trillion in value over the next 10 years. The organizations that take the lead in this technology will reap the most benefit, while those wait and wait and see may get little to no return depending on when they jump on the opportunity. AI adoption and deployment at scale is accelerating. 28% of enterprises are getting value from AI today, and that is 7 times as many in just the past 3 years. So the acceleration, the adoption is really happening fast. While organizations in the past have struggled to get value from AI, implementations based on simple chatbots, regression algorithms, and other early implementations, modern AI deployments are delivering real value at scale, and the organizations using it are widening the gap between themselves and the rest of the market. And deep learning is finally unlocking the power of AI. Deep learning and large language models are finally delivering on the promise of AI and are generating the largest amount of value. The models are growing 10 times in size and compute requirements annually. The pace of innovation is so fast that do-it-yourself development are so slow that by the time most deployments launch, they're already a generation behind. Further, many organizations that rely on do-it-yourself deployments face additional barriers, including talent shortage, lengthy and complicated model development, and insufficient infrastructure that prevents them from reaping the rewards of the next generation of AI innovation. So let's talk about some of the challenges with AI. Organizations looking to adopt AI are struggling with technical challenges and competing for limited expertise. So we've got outdated GPU and CPU based AI infrastructure. You've got competition for limited top AI talent, and AI advancements are outpacing the ability to deploy them, which is amazing to think about. So let's take a minute and talk about what we refer to as the habitable zone. So in AI deployments today, many of you may be familiar with ResNet or BERT Large, which are running fairly well on GPU-based systems. But when you start going into fine-grained on the left-hand side, so sparsity, RNN, AI4s, you're seeing a lot of performance issues. And on the right-hand side, you have even more additional problems when you start getting into larger models. So the most recently released GPT-3, which is the 175 billion parameter model, large embeddings, true resolution or computer vision. When you start getting above 2K imaging, you're really seeing performance problems, and the scale out cost is getting quite significant for many organizations that are really starting to grow these large models and start using these particular areas for their organizations. So at SambaNova, we're a pretty upbeat company, so we like to say that we like to turn that frown upside down. What we're seeing with our performance, and I'll get into what that looks like and why we're able to perform at this level. We're really seeing advancements on the left-hand side, the finely grained models that are needed and being trained. We're seeing upwards of 20 times performance increases, and accuracy rates are jumping at the same rates. Low latency increases. So we're really seeing some great performance. And then on the larger models, as I said, that GPT 175 billion parameter model, we had up and running in just a couple of weeks time frame, and running very efficiently. And we're actually able and advancing that GPT model to make it vertical specific in verticals like banking. And back in February of this year, we launched the GPT for banking model for those organizations. So a lot of great advancement, a lot of performance increases. And as you get into large embeddings and certainly the true resolution and computer vision, you start talking about different verticals like healthcare and cancer research, where an image and its resolution is critical to the success of the doctor's evaluation, the success of the diagnosis. And we're seeing, again, accuracy rates jump double digits, which are, very important in those type of verticals and industries. Manufacturing, defect detection, oil and gas, seismic readings. There's a lot of great vertical specific advancements that are being made and wouldn't be able to be made without this compute power. So we're literally doing things that no one else can do in the market today, and advancing AI for those organizations that are taking advantage of it. So when we talk about the AI deployment, and so as we talked about the habitable zone and what that looks like, and now how we can transform organizations when they're looking at these type of implementations, there's a significant gap in how these are being implemented. So most organizations will go down the path and set up a project to launch an AI transformation. They've got to hire the team. They've got to build the infrastructure, train and deploy the models. And that can take anywhere from 18 to 24 months and sometimes longer, depending on today's environment, specifically around supply chain, availability, and the skills to hire. As we just mentioned in the beginning, that's a really competitive challenge that most organizations have. And then when you start getting into your deployments, the model size that you're using or potentially budgeted for is increasing 10 times every 12 months. So by the time you've actually gone to deploy over an 18-month period, you potentially can have a 15 times increase in your model size. And if you didn't budget properly, you're going to back up to step one. You've got to order more infrastructure. You've got to build it out. You've got to get it deployed. So there's a lot of different factors that really affect how you deploy and get your AI deployments, out effectively and efficiently. And then the increase in compute requirements. So think about that in regards to the infrastructure you're looking at. It's an increase, a 2 times increase every 3.5 months. So as your model size is increasing, you need more compute power to run that model. So you don't run out of memory, you don't run out of compute. And so we're going to go in and talk a little bit about how SambaNova is solving those problems for customers and really making it AI available for everyone. So what is the SambaNova difference? Well, number one, our deep learning capabilities. We're here to solve the hard problems. We're here to solve the large problems, and we're here to solve the problems at scale. And those are big differentiators for us. And as we get into the compute power and what that looks like, you'll understand it a little bit better. But that's our goal, and that's what we're focused on, is helping organizations with the hard problems, the large problems, all at scale. Faster time to value. And this is critical for all organizations that are looking to deploy AI, to really embed AI into your operations, into your organization, and really change the way you run your business. We can deploy models in weeks, not years. So the previous slide, we talked about 18 months and all the different variables that can happen over that 18-month period. What if you could have it up and running in weeks? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Think about the time to value that you would have. And a lot of the models that we already have are all pre-trained. GPT for banking, as an example, is already vertically trained and readily available for banking. General GPT, natural language processing, already on our system, already trained model, ready to go. So these really reduce the need for heavy data science effort. So we have the expertise, we have the people. And by having that available to you as a customer really is a huge competitive advantage. It reduces your hiring needs or changes them. You could think about hiring more business-related resources versus data scientists. You don't have to worry about pre-training your models, which again can take a significant amount of time depending on the size of the model and how you're running it. We reduce the complexity, right? Simplified and ease of use, using open standards, using open APIs, really allowing you to really churn your data in and out of our systems for tremendous outputs and effects on your business. And it's purpose-built for innovation. Our ability to handle the space of AI innovations, a 10 times increase in compute requirements and model size every year. We're built and ready for that. So what does that look like for us? Well, we developed the world's first reconfigurable data flow unit. You're all familiar with GPU and CPU. This is truly a new category of compute power, and it's the world's first. We use the SambaFlow open software. So software you're very familiar with, PyTorch, TensorFlow. Those are the standards that we use so that many organizations that are already building, already have some BERT models, already have other things running, you can convert to our systems very quickly and efficiently. And then the secret sauce is really what's going on below the software and integrating with the reconfigurable data flow unit. So by using our own compiler, we don't have CUDA, we don't have other technologies that need to be learned. We've got an open stack that really uses the power of the entire system and enables it to be used. So we've got a data scale unit, which basically is a single 8-socket data scale system. And that is the lowest compute power that we have. And by the coordination of software on top of the data flow unit, we're able to run a system that has this 8-socket unit has over 3 terabytes of memory available to it. So think about that compute power there. And then when you get into a full system, which is 4 8-socket systems, you now have 12 terabytes of memory available just within those systems itself, which allows us to do the high level imaging resolution, 4K, 5K, 2x2x2 and 3D environments, 4D imaging. So really big advancements in compute power and really a significant impact on AI. So now that we've developed the industry's most powerful deep learning platform, what does that mean for verticals? What does that mean for your business? We've got an as-a-service model for customers. And within that, you have computer vision as a service, which is the high resolution, complex 3D, real-time video, natural language processing for sentiment analysis, document classification, named entity recognition. All of these already pre-trained and readily available for you. Recommendation systems, customer intent, product recommendation, personalization. Think about the effects on that on healthcare to really focus in on patient healthcare and trying to use AI as really what we refer to it as a multi learning platform. And think about bringing all of your data together and putting it in so you can use all of it to your benefit for whatever vertical that you're in. So it's really reducing data silos, bringing all that data together for a multi-purpose learning platform. And across the industries, public sector, BFSI, manufacturing, we've got a lot of solutions being developed and deployed as we speak on a daily basis. This is another version of what I just had, but it kind of also shows our focus is to go where the customer's data is. So if you're a cloud-first company, we respect that, appreciate that. We've got cross connects going. We've got APIs going with all the major hyperscale providers, some of the local CSP and MSP providers. So we've got a lot of good integration work going on so that we can get your data from wherever you store it onto our systems. If it's on-premise, it's inside your network. We can deploy inside your network and still have a management capability to manage the as-a-service solution. So you're truly getting your hands on this equipment, this system, again, within weeks, right? It's all pre-configured, ready to go for you. We get it deployed in the data center, and you're up and running in potentially hours. And so on-premise, hosted, cloud, we're all familiar with hybrid IT these days, the complexity around networking and configuration. We've got those problems solved, and we can help you get to operations and get to production in a much faster timeline, which again, time to value being a big critical factor in how we deploy our systems. So now when we talk about data flow as a service, again, we've got all the verticals listed here. These are just some samples of different models that are running, different use cases that are starting to be implemented across these industries. I mentioned a few of these already, public sector, cybersecurity threat detection, satellite imaging, supply chain management, across BFSI, customer experience optimization, again, being that big area of consolidation of data. So bringing in all facets of a customer's data or a user experience data to really generate a better experience for those individuals, customers, or persons that are using your systems. Obviously, fraud analytics is a big part of what we do within AI. Document classification, I think I said earlier, and sentiment. And then again, manufacturing and automotive, the defect detection for high resolution imaging has become a tremendous impact to many manufacturers. You talk about cost reduction. Reduction in defects is a huge bottom line aspect to how these manufacturers are doing their production. Predictive maintenance, equipment quality. Again, I could go on and I don't want to actually read all of these onto you guys, but I think you're getting the picture here. So a couple of key takeaways. Again, it's data flow as a service. So it's AI as a service. We can bring it to where your data is in a true hybrid model. Follow your network and security requirements and get you onto our systems in a very quick time frame and get that time to value that you really need. We're deploying this in weeks, not years, which is a tremendous value to our clients. So I do, again, appreciate your time here today. And, Catherine, I think we can open it up to questions if that works for you.
Yeah, definitely. Always keen to ask some questions. So thank you so much for that, Kirk. It was really interesting. And just before we move on to the questions that have been sent in from the audience, one thing that I'd like to pick up on is how you said you can deploy AI in weeks and not years. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Do you think length of deployment is something that people worry about when they implement AI?
Yeah, definitely. We're hearing a lot from the executives and our customers that when they were originally looking at plans for the AI, just think about, you got to buy the infrastructure, get it into your network. And the first call you make is, hey, we want some AI infrastructure. Oh, that's great. But we're in the middle of a conversion from the old to the new. We've got a 6-month backlog on supply chain. So we can't get you that infrastructure for 8 months to a year. And that's just the infrastructure. Never mind Do I have the skills in-house to be able to do this? Do I have to hire? How long is your hire window? How much pipeline do you have of data scientists in your pipeline? So all of those factors really contribute. So we've got some of the top talent in the industry working on our systems. We've got a pre-configured solution that can be deployed inside your network, inside your data center, again, within weeks, right? And when you plug it in, you're already up and running. You don't need to do any training on your models. The models are pre-trained for you. So that's what we mean, and that's the impact that this has. Is we're talking weeks, not years, which is, again, time to value. You're talking revenue, you're talking cost reduction. Those are bottom line impacts to all these executives that are looking to move forward.
No, definitely. I think if anything, that is a big draw to the platforms. That's really great. So I will move on and pick some of the questions from the audience. So someone is interested in computer vision. You spoke a lot about computer vision in healthcare, but do you have any other use cases for computer vision?
Yeah, so there's a lot of being used now. So I think I just mentioned as well the manufacturing side, that defect detection, as organizations start to review what that really means for them. And what's happening in the market too is when companies are starting to look at 5G as an example, they're starting to increase their network bandwidth. So what previously was a restriction, when you put a 4K camera out on the manufacturing line, you couldn't get a good image back to through your Wi-Fi network and then back into your system of record because the bandwidth wasn't there. You may have to splice up the picture to actually get it back into your system, then put it back together again. But in the meantime, you've lost all that resolution. So now having network bandwidth like 5G and others, you now can take that 4K image and get it onto our system efficiently, and we can run it for you, right? And the other piece is the compute power. We're running those on our systems out of the box. You don't need to scale out. You don't need to buy extra compute power for it. It's running it's running native as a 4K image. So it's very impactful on defect. You mentioned healthcare. Satellite imaging is becoming a big one as well. We did some work with a couple of organizations trying to look at vessels in the ocean for illegal fishing, which they were previously, when you take an image of that size, when you slice it down, you don't get a full image of how many boats are in the area and what specific boat is there fishing illegally. So there's a lot of great areas that imaging, security, fan engagement for stadiums, public smart cities are starting to really look at this. Again, the bandwidth with the imaging are becoming really critical for that.
Brilliant. And so someone here seems to be struggling with the deployment and use of GPT. What size models have you deployed?
Yeah, so we're up to date. What I mean by that is the largest model, the GPT model at 175 billion parameters, was just launched in last November, and we had it up and running in 3 weeks. So we didn't have to go out and buy any extra infrastructure. It ran on our systems. Again, I use the word native, but kind of out of the box, we had it running. And being able to train that up, get it up and running, installed and trained in a 3 to 6 week period is unheard of in the market, right? We're really not sure. And if someone in the audience knows that it happened faster, great. But I don't think it is, right? We're doing what we call 0 to 1 implementations. We are doing things that can't be done by anybody else, that haven't been done in history. And it's really game changing that way. So being able to run that model at 175 billion parameters, and then being able to verticalize it. So we took the banking vertical and worked with some of our customers to pre-train a GPT banking solution. And that only took another 6 weeks. So again, we're back to this time to value. We're getting it done in 6 week increments, which again, you're talking 18 months to 2 years to get this stuff done on native GPU.
Oh, that's brilliant. So you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation that AI implementation is accelerating so quickly. Why do you think that's the case?
It's really based on knowledge and data. So we've gone through, I think everyone's been through the cloud transformation. Everyone's been through digital transformation. And as we've gone along, now it's IoT and analytics, right? Now we've got, a couple of customers, when we were doing some analysis, said if there's power, there's a sensor on it. right? And these sensors have been collecting data now for a couple of years. So the maturity of the data collection is really starting to get up and up for customers. Now that 5G is becoming readily available, getting implemented, now no longer is there a sensor at the edge. Now you've got compute power at the edge. So now you've got the 4K camera. Now you've got all these other advances in data collection at the edge, because you've got the network and the bandwidth to collect that data. So that's why these models, that's why this data is changing so fast. And to be able to stay ahead of that with the right deployments is going to be critical, right? Because every time you've got to stop, reconfigure, buy more infrastructure, retrain, you've put you and your company, 6 months, 8 months, a year behind every time you've got to stop and start. So having the compute power, having the capability to grow with you, to scale up quickly and easily, with a much lower cost point too, which is a critical part of these projects. Budgets are set. You got to stay within that budget, and the minute you need to go buy more infrastructure, your budget's on hold, your project's on hold. So running the GPT models and these other models at this size is going to be a game changer for these organizations.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think we will wrap it up there because we've got about 2 minutes until the next speaker's joining us. So yeah, that's all we've got time for today. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to learn from you. So thanks, Kirk.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody today. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to the audience for watching, and make sure you stay tuned to check out the rest of our speakers for Tech and AI Live.